There are 6 pillars or columns inside the Rada area within Masjid Nabawi that hold special historical and spiritual significance. With a further 2 inside the sacred chamber, these blessed pillars stand on the exact locations where the original pillars, made from palm tree trunks, stood after Masjid Nabawi was built during the life of the Prophet. From that time until the present day, those who rebuilt or extended the mosque were very scrupulous in preserving the original location of these pillars. These sacred pillars are distinct from the other pillars inside the present construction of Masjid Nabawi. Their position is irregular in relation to the consistent layout of the other columns. 3 of the pillars are incorporated within the golden railing surrounding the sacred chamber. This is on the side where visitors normally greet the Prophet and his companions. One is to the rear of the mihrab and the other to stand in the first row of pillars, closest to the mihrab in the Rada area. A gold Arabic inscription on a large green circle marks the name of each pillar. This is encircled by a golden wreath. The pillars, as you see them today, were erected during the Ottoman era. These pillars hold tremendous significance. They were built under the supervision of the Prophet and the companions. The Prophet himself prayed in their vicinity countless times and spent a significant amount of time around them. Anas ibn Malik narrates, I saw the most famous amongst the companions of the Prophet hurrying towards the pillars at the Maghrib prayer before the Prophet came for the prayer, narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari. The Arabic word commonly used for these pillars is Ustawana, which is derived from the Persian word Satoon. Each pillar also has 1 or 2 names describing what it's famous for. This pillar is located at the back of the Prophet's mihrab and is known most commonly as the Weeping Pillar, Ustawana al-Hannana. After migrating to Medina and building Masjid Nabawi, the Prophet would deliver Friday sermons leaning against a palm trunk. This palm trunk once stood where the pillar is today. After a period of time, the companions asked the Prophet if they could build something that would allow him to be clearly seen and heard by the congregation whilst delivering sermons. Jabir ibn Abdullah the first narrates, the Prophet then descended from the pulpit and consoled the tree trunk by embracing it and speaking to it gently. He offered it one of 2 choices and said, choose if you want me to plant you in the place you were in, and you will be as you were before. Or if you want, I can plant you in paradise, and you can drink from its rivers and springs and your growth will be good. You will bear fruit, and the friends of Allah will eat from your fruit, narrated in Sunan al-Darimi. After hearing this, the palm trunk chose paradise and calmed down. Jabir narrates, Pillar of Repentance, Ustawana al-Taba, Pillar of Abu Lubaba, Ustawana Abu Lubaba. It's located next to the pillar of the bed in the first row of pillars of the Rada closest to Mihrab al-Nabi. It is the 4th pillar from the minbar as you approach the sacred chamber. The color of the marble used on this row is different from the rest of the pillars in the Rada. It was so called after a famous incident involving the venerable companion Abu Lubaba ibn Abd al-Mundir during the siege of the Banu Qurayza in 5 following the Battle of the Trench. Abu Lubaba, who was from the Banu Aws, had close ties to the Banu Qurayza, a Jewish tribe from Medina who had betrayed the Muslims after being allied with them. For their treachery, the Prophet and this army laid siege to the fortress of Banu Qurayza for 25 days. After resigning themselves to defeat, they sent a message to the Prophet asking him to send Abu Lubaba to them so that they might consult him about their situation. With the permission of the Prophet, Abu Lubaba entered the fortress and spoke with them. They asked his advice as to whether they should surrender and submit to the judgment of the Prophet. He answered affirmatively, but ran his finger across his throat, indicating that they would be executed. With this gesture, he confirmed what they already knew. They were to be sentenced to death for treason. No sooner had he said this, he felt he had betrayed the Prophet for revealing his plan. He later said, I had not even moved from my spot, that it dawned on me that I had betrayed Allah and his messenger. The pillar of Aisha Ustawana Aisha, also known as the pillar of casting lots, Ustawana al-Qara, is located next to the pillar of repentance in the first row of pillars closest to Mihrab al-Nabi. It is the third pillar from the minbar as you approach the sacred chamber. It got its name after Aisha revealed the virtue of prayer in that area. Aisha is reported to have said, "In the mosque, there is a spot near this pillar that if people were to know about it, they would have to cast lots to be able to pray there." They asked, "O mother of the believers, where is it?" She remained quiet. When they left her nephew, Abdullah ibn al-Zubair, I stayed behind to ask her about it. He left his aunt's house and walked straight to this pillar while his companions looked on. They realized she informed him of the location, thereby determining the pillar in question. It has also been recorded that Abu Bakr, Umar and Zubair used to pray there frequently, meaning they were all aware of its significance. People have been praying there ever since. The pillar is also known as the pillar of the emigrants Ustawana al-Muhajirin, because the emigrants from Mecca would regularly sit in this area. Furthermore, it is said that after the Prophet arrived in Medina, he led the prayer facing Bayt al-Maqdis, Jerusalem, from this location for 16 to 18 months. After the Qibla was changed, the Prophet led the people in prayer from this spot for 10 more days before he designated his mihrab to lead Salah. Pillar of the Guard, Ustawana al-Haras, pillar of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the middle pillar of the three incorporated in the railing around the sacred chamber. It marks the location of the door from which the Prophet would enter Masjid Nabawi from the chambers of Aisha. Prominent companions would stand at the door guarding the house during the days when they feared attacks, hence, it was given its name as the Pillar of the Guard. Aisha narrates, "Pillars of Masjid Nabawi, Ustawana wufud means delegations. Whenever deputations arrived to meet the Prophet on behalf of their tribes, they were seated here and here he used to meet them, conversed with them and taught them Islam." An incident mentioned in the Quran regarding a delegation from Banu Tamim is said to have occurred at this location. Zayd ibn Arqam narrates this incident. A large group of Arabs gathered and said, "Take us to this man. If he is a prophet, then we are the most fortunate to be with him, and if he is a king, we will live in his kingdom." I came to the blessed Prophet and notified him. Then they came by his house, i.e., by the door where the pillar is now located, and started calling out, "Muhammad, Muhammad." Thereafter, the verses were revealed. Pillar of the bed, Ustawana al-Sarir. The pillar of the bed, Ustawana al-Sarir, is the southernmost of the three pillars incorporated in the railing surrounding the sacred chamber closest to the Qibla. The pillar marks the location where the Prophet slept during itikaf retreat in the last 10 days of Ramadan. His bed was made of palm fronds, and his cushion was made of leather and stuffed with palm fiber. The Prophet performed itikaf during the last 10 days of Ramadan each year after migration. Ustawana Tahajjud. It is reported that this was the spot where late at night a carpet was spread for the Prophet to perform Tahajjud prayer after all the people had left. It is currently covered by a bookcase, but this historic photo shows what exists behind it. Ustawana Jibril. This was the usual place where Jibril used to enter to visit the Prophet. Today it cannot be seen as it lies inside the sacred chamber of the Prophet.